If you've ever set up a planning system that worked for about 3 days and then completely fell apart,
you're not alone, and it's not your fault.
Nikki put together a free guide called What Nobody Told You About Planning with ADHD.
It's short, it's honest, and it finally explains why planning keeps collapsing and what actually helps.
No hacks, no productivity tips.
Just a clear picture of what your brain actually needs.
You can grab it today at takecontroladhd.com/planwithadhd. That's takecontroladhd.com/planwithadhd. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Oh, hi. Look at you there on the podcast.
And you on the podcast.
We're on the podcast, and today we are talking about permission slips. It's a real scholastic kind of thing.
It is.
What do you think of when you think of a permission slip?
I think of school, and I think about going on a field trip and how you have to come home with your permission slip and you have to have your parents sign off that it's okay for you to leave the school to go onto a bus to wherever you're going for the day. And you have to make sure you pack a lunch.
Yeah. And then you're out in the world alone with maybe a teacher and a bus driver, and you're just living your best life.
Yes.
There's so much opportunity that comes from the right permission slip. And we are going to talk about that opportunity, that very blessed opportunity today. Before we get into the topic at hand, you need to hear about our Patreon community. You know about it because I've told you about it before. But just in case, if you're a regular listener, this is the next move. Members of our Patreon community get early ad-free access to every episode. They get access to the special extended editions where you get to hear me talk about cinematographers at length. And you get to join us for the live stream while we're recording, and you can chat with others as the recording is going on, and it's really, really fun. And plus, we add all kinds of extra events throughout the year from time to time, and we'd love you to join us for those too. But honestly, the best part about the Patreon is the community of people that are in here themselves. This is the group of real people, all living with ADHD, who show up for each other in a way that is pretty hard to find elsewhere. So if you've ever wanted to be more than just a listener, this is where it happens. Visit patreon.com/theADHD podcast to learn more and join us. And if you're not ready for that, that's fine too. Find us at takecontroladhd.com. Connect with us on the socials, join the Discord, or sign up for the weekly email. We would love to have you wherever you land. All right, Nikki. It's permission slips all the way down today.
I love it. All right.
So we start with the pattern. What are we talking about? What is the permission slip orientation?
The way that it comes up in coaching a lot is that term. I need to give myself permission to.
Mm-hmm.
I need permission to do something. And it's usually to do something that they feel guilty about. They feel guilty leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I like, these examples that you put out here on the show notes that I'm looking at because they're really good, Pete, right?
Oh, thank you.
You did a really good
Thank
job.
you. Wink.
But yes. But that is what it is. It's like, okay, well, I can't rest until I've done enough stuff and checked off everything on my list. I can't give myself permission to take a break because I haven't done everything. I'm waiting for someone to say it's okay to be done with the day, but that someone never comes. I'm never given that permission. When really it should be coming from you, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, I see it as, and it's interesting in coaching because sometimes we'll be talking about something and I'll ask a couple of questions and it will come up on their own where they'll say, well, I guess I just really needed permission to let that go.
Yeah.
And they're not getting permission from me. I mean, they're getting permission from themselves because they've gone through the process of talking it through and processing it and seeing that what they're believing isn't necessarily true
Right.
and whatnot. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And I want to distinguish one point, which I think is important as kind of a framework, that we're not talking about permission to do the things you want to do but can't, right? Because your ADHD is getting
Mhm.
in the way. That's executive dysfunction. Like, we're not talking about
Yeah.
that. This is all about the things that you may have already decided to do, but you're waiting for it to be blessed externally, right?
Yes.
And that gets into the, waiting to rest until you've earned it somehow stuff. Waiting for someone,
Mhm.
like you said, someone to say it's okay to quit. Waiting for, a real diagnosis. Waiting for someone else, the professional with letters after their name, to call you and your experience with ADHD real, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for some permission for an accommodation that would actually help you, because you need some sort of external validation to do it. And we're all
Mhm.
waiting for these things, right? I think the
Mhm.
rest one, the self-care one, is a huge one. Uh, but
Well, and it goes from what we were talking about last week
yeah,
of the rest and recovery and all of those little breaks that we need to take. It's like, yeah, we need some kind of permission to do that.
yeah, yeah. It actually it came back to me with there was a comment in our ADHD happy hour, one of the
Hmm.
Patreon benefits, that there is that someone was looking for uh, an accommodation at work for, what was it? Was it Todoist? I think that was and they wouldn't get it because if they got it for one person, they'd have to get it for everybody. But this is a service that would help that individual, and they feel strongly about it. And there is a permission structure, especially at work,
Yeah.
that makes that kind of stuff challenging. So, what are you waiting for, especially for a service like Todoist that is a reasonable expense as an accommodation? If work won't cover it,
Hmm.
then what permission are you waiting for to take action on it? Right. And no
Hmm.
judgment, because everybody does this. I do it too.
Right.
Right. Um, we've talked about masking a number of times on the show. Permission to stop masking with a specific person or a family
Yes.
member or something. In many respects, permission exists as a way to avoid speaking our truth to power, social power,
Right.
cultural power, professional power, right? We have somebody that we perceive as an authority, and we are making ourselves smaller in service of a relationship that does not deserve that attention,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
so there are some big ones like those. Truth to power is kind of a haughty term, but there are also little
Oh,
tiny ones. Like, I have to think about this all the time. Permission not to respond to that text message right now. Permission
yes.
not to respond to that Discord message right now. Permission not to let
Yes.
myself be interrupted by a flag that comes up and triggers every single people pleasing nerve I have in my brain. Every one of them,
Yes.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Permission to medicate, or permission not to
To
medicate,
not. Yes. That's a good one, right?
right?
Because there's so much pressure
Yes.
around that.
In
Of
both
that being a
directions.
treatment.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of treatment of ADHD. Yeah, that's conversation's gonna come up and
Right.
people are gonna have opinions one way or the other. Yeah.
Permission to take your ADHD diagnosis seriously, even though you, quote, function fine.
Yeah.
There's,
That's
it's tricky,
ugh,
right?
that's tricky and it's so annoying, right? Because it's this invisible disorder,
Yeah.
right? Because you may be masking. And so everything looks so good and put together and organized. But so from the outside, yeah, you're functioning fine. You're going to do fine. But inside you're like crumbling
Yeah.
and isolated. I mean, that's a very lonely feeling if everybody's saying, oh, you're going to be fine. You're fine. You're doing great. What do you mean? Really not validating anything.
Melissa
Yeah.
reminded me over the weekend about why the swan is such a perfect mascot for our ADHD
Yes, she
server, right?
did.
And it happened
That
to
was
be
so good.
exactly
Yeah.
what I needed to hear, right? The swan
Yes.
is beautiful on the surface and it's going crazy underwater. That's what
Underneath.
functioning fine is like. It's the swan. It's
Yeah.
beautiful and great and totally on taking care of its own business. And also it's a disaster below the surface. And that's what fine can be, right? And that is a neutral state for a lot of us, that we
Yes.
appear one way, but we very much exist in another.
So with that story, I love one of these other key points here: permission to stop performing the version of yourself that's exhausting you.
Yeah.
So Pete Wright had to give me a little pep talk the other day
Oh,
of, Nikki, who's in charge of this, or who's riding, or who's driving this bus. And I don't remember exactly what you said, but it basically made me leave the conversation of, oh, right, maybe I'm doing this to myself and I need some permission to let some of this stuff go and not take it all on myself. Oh, light bulb.
well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a like, why does that kind of guidance come so easily to me? Because it's that it's that experience of I am behind on a million things, and I look at those million things, and 999,000 of them I have done to myself. I've added to my own list. Who is in control of that list? I'm in control of that
You.
list. I get to make those. I get to make those choices myself. And if I want to go easier on myself, I have the agency and authority to do it.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing to wrap your head
It
around.
really is. And I just want to point out, for someone who does not have ADHD and was struggling with that, and with someone who has ADHD who struggles with that, like, I just want people that are listening to understand it is happening to everyone. It's more so, I think it's heightened when you have ADHD, and it's definitely intense in all of the emotions and feelings that go along with it. But I just want people to know that, you're not alone in the ADHD community and the non-ADHD community, because I needed my dear friend to basically take me off that ledge and say, breathe for a moment.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Right. And, but so one thing that I think is really interesting, I don't know, this isn't a conversation around whether you have ADHD or don't have ADHD, but it is an interesting distinction. You were saying, I feel behind. When I was coming to you, it wasn't that I was feeling behind. I was feeling overwhelmed with what was ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that means anything, but it's just something I noticed when you were talking.
I think what matters is how it makes you feel, but
Yeah.
it may not make a functional difference. The emotional state of feeling behind and feeling like ultimately, with everything that's ahead of me, I know I'm going to be behind, are the same emotional
True.
state, right?
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
overwhelmed
that's
with
true.
what's to come because I don't have confidence in myself to be able to do it all, is kind of the same as I had a bunch of stuff on my list and I've confirmed that I didn't have enough juice in the tank to do it all. And,
And my own anxiety is creeping up because I'm thinking worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And yeah, interesting. All right. Little side note there.
Yeah. Well,
let's go back on to giving ourselves permission.
Well, there was just one more that I think is an important one that I kind of run into, which is permission to want what you want without justifying it to yourself or anybody else, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
So true.
It's okay to want what you want, to want to experiences, to want products and services, to want relationships. You don't owe anyone a rationale behind it. It's just yours. It's just yours.
It's so interesting because, we just celebrated Mother's Day, and there was a time where all I wanted on Mother's Day was to not be a mom. I'm
Oh,
going to say that out loud. I just wanted a day where I could be by myself
mhm.
and not have to be a mom, not be wanted for anything, right? That's when kids are smaller, they need you, da da da. And then this Mother's Day, before our pre show, I was talking about how I spent this lovely weekend with my daughter and it was wonderful. Like as they get older, it's like that's what you want is
Yeah,
to spend time with them. So it is, I think, that permission because me even saying that out loud of me not wanting to be a mom makes me feel really bad. Like
totally.
I would have to, I feel guilty saying that. So I appreciate that permission to want what you want without having to justify it.
Right. This was my big birthday lesson years ago was that, I have things that I want to do on my birthday and I'm not going to try to convince other people that they need to be a part of my party, which is weird and requires you to take essentially a day off of work. I just,
To watch
yeah,
movies?
just go to the theater and do it. And I watch movie after
Yeah,
movie and it's what makes me
I love
happy. It's
that.
the one thing I want. And then I want to come home and have a nice dinner with my family. That's it. And I
Mhm.
don't have to justify that to anybody.
No,
Right. All right.
it's great.
So, as you might be assuming, I did just a little bit of research, and I found this
Oh,
article. It was,
you did?
it led to self-determination theory, right? Self-determination theory says we have three core needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And ADHD frustrates all three of these elements from childhood. So, Adamu Champ did some research and team, I'll just say et al., did some research on self-determination theory and ADHD, seeking connection, autonomy, and emotional feedback as self-determination theory for self-regulation and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay, what does all that mean? Years of years of correction from authority figures creates an unconscious reliance on external validation. Pull it apart. Years of other people in perceived authority, teachers, principals, social workers, special ed teachers, parents, therapists, telling us that we're doing something wrong outside of the norm, even if they're not saying it's wrong. If it's outside of the norm when you're a kid, it's perceived as wrong. This creates a reliance on external validation as an adult. This is not
Mm,
a weakness per se. It's a survival adaptation that worked when we were 8 years old. And it does not work at 48 years old. It does not work,
so true.
right? We're
Right,
adults
right.
and we no longer, there is no authority figure that is expecting to give us correction at the same rate and style that we were getting it when we were 8 years old. That's not happening
Yeah,
anymore. So we
yeah.
have to tear apart the reliance on external validation, which becomes the first biggest muscle that you have to build in order to give yourself permission slips to do the stuff that you need to do to live your life. Thoughts?
That is so interesting. And it really makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Because not only the correction, but the validation of doing a good job too, right? You're not getting any feedback.
Right, right. You're in
What do you do with
complete
that?
limbo,
Right? Like,
right?
and then of course you're going to think worst case scenario. So I'm going to think I'm doing I'm doing the worst job that I could be doing
Mhm.
when you don't know because you're not getting any kind of feedback. That's so
Which
interesting.
leads to the next point, which
Yeah.
I think is related. And this is on decision paralysis. According to the same research, 82% of ADHD adults struggle with decision making. Waiting for permission stalls the brain and offloads responsibility. If someone else decides, you are not responsible for the outcome. And that is the exact opposite of having your cake and eating it too, right? Like as an adult now, if you're looking to increase agency and autonomy in your life, you cannot also seek to offload responsibility for the decisions that define your agency and autonomy, right? You
Yeah.
have to develop the second muscle which is I'm taking responsibility for my decisions. One, I'm no
Hmm.
longer waiting for somebody else to tell me what to do and when to do it. Two, I'm taking responsibility for the decisions that I make on my own. And finally, the rejection sensitivity layer, waiting preempts rejection. If they say no, at least you didn't act first and cause an RSD storm, right?
Right.
The potential for rejection is real. We all know we live with it. It is not your fault, but it is yours. And that's
Yes.
the reality. That is the reality. And so I think this defines why the ADHD brain waits for stuff, waits for permission externally, and also the trade-offs that come with taking responsibility for your own actions and your own decisions and not waiting anymore, because life goes on. To quote the famous philosopher, life moves pretty fast.
Wow, I have to take a moment to like process all that. It really connects a lot of dots though, because when we talk about decision making and we know it's difficult
Yeah,
for ADHDers. I would say more than 82% of ADHD adults with decision making. I would say it's higher than that.
yeah,
But it's an interesting an interesting connection when you start talking about like why the decision making is so difficult and waiting for permission. And I think that for a lot of folks, it's because, they're afraid of making the wrong decision. Well, where does
sure.
that come from? Right? Where is that fear coming from? And then we start talking about the RSD and we start talking about those past internal conversations. It all sort of goes in this perfect little circle. Interesting.
Yeah,
I like your research.
it's pretty good, right? That's a
Yeah,
pretty good
it's
article.
good.
I was pretty happy
Hmm.
with that one. I I think the next piece is the gender layer. Most of this is non-gendered, right? But I think there
Right.
is the important sort of um, the important sort of twist that says, women in particular get
Hmm.
socialized to defer and caretake and not take up space. And those stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason,
Right.
because they're very real. And that permission waiting habit is reinforced twice, right? Once by
Right.
ADHD, and second by gender norms that are legitimate. And
Absolutely.
yeah. And I think the other side of it, right? Not to say at all that it's in any way easier for men, because men have it too in their own language,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Having permission to feel a certain way, having permission to ask
Hmm.
for help, to not be the provider, to stop toughing it out, because those are the norms
Hmm.
that men tend to be taught. And all of those
Yeah.
sort of flavors are deeply gendered. And but the result is the waiting part is not,
Right.
right? You're
Yes.
just doing it
Yeah.
for different reasons. So
Hmm.
okay,
Agreed.
so who are we waiting for?
That's a great question. It's
Yeah.
I always think it's so interesting when people and I see it in all facets, not just like coaching clients, but like even in just like personal relationships when I talk to people like in my family and friends and there's this like thing that we're either comparing ourselves to or like, well, them. And it's like, well, who is the them?
Hmm.
Like, who exactly are you afraid of? Like,
Yeah.
and so I love this question. Like, who is it that we're waiting for?
What's your experience with main character syndrome? Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not.
Main character syndrome describes the context in which you are the main character of your movie, and you have a sense that everything in life revolves around you in some way, shape, or form. Right? You see,
Hmm.
there's a I don't know. You're waiting for the plumber to show up, right? And for
Hmm.
some reason, the plumber is late. The story that you tell yourself about why the plumber is late is usually something, if you live with main character syndrome, is something related to, oh, they looked on my Facebook page and saw a snide comment that I made once about how plumbers are silly willies and they've decided to stall and not come to my house right away. Right? You see what I mean? Like everything.
And they're going to charge me twice
as
the cost and then pocket it in there. Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So main character syndrome, every single whisper or rumor or everything somehow revolves around you. This is kind of a variant of main character syndrome, right? Because the person you're waiting on often doesn't know you're waiting, right? Probably doesn't care that you're waiting and may have been dead for a decade, right? Like the person...
Or can I just say doesn't exist?
Right. Or maybe...
the person just doesn't exist.
Right. Maybe they were the person you're waiting on is a 14-year-old version of you.
Yes.
From 1984, who has no understanding of the life you're living today and your current needs.
Right.
So back to the CHAMP research, they call this the impairment of internalization. This is the rule, the rule that you're looking for never becomes yours. So you keep checking with an external rule setter that may not exist. Right?
Yeah.
Impairment of internalization. And I think that's an important... an important term to understand, even if you put it in different language, because that is something that I think when you're looking for those permission slips and you're finding the hints that you might not be waiting for any function, it's likely an impairment of internalization. You're not able to take ownership of whatever the context is around your life and take action. So how then do you write your own permission slip? Because
I love this. Please tell us.
Well, I don't.
How do you do it?
I mean, who knows? What I do know is this. Just saying you have to give yourself permission doesn't work, right?
That's the just do it.
Just do it.
That doesn't work.
Just muscle up and do it. That's not how your brain...
Go get a planner and that's going to change your life.
Journal.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's not how it works, right? Because your brain didn't learn this way, and it's certainly not how it unlearns it, right? So, again, if we look to the research, these small, concrete acts of autonomy, right? Acting without the slip in very low stakes way so that you're able to notice that the world doesn't end when you take action on it, right? Don't start with the biggest thing in your universe right now. Start with a little tiny one. So you may consider certain prompts. You may have a piece of paper and you write down, hey, here's one permission that I feel like I've been waiting for. Write it down, say it out loud and hear it. I've been waiting for an accommodation at work. They've refused to give it to me. What would happen if I did it myself? What would happen if I did it myself? Like, what would happen if I came up with a solution to my own problem? And then you write down who you're waiting on. Check whether they even know. Check where they even exist.
Exactly.
Right?
Is this person real? Who is the them? Who is it?
Yeah. Maybe you find you break down that one act into smaller versions of the act, right? Maybe it's, I'm not going to quit my job. That's not the act, but maybe I'm going to take a 30-minute walk in the middle of the workday to clear my head and figure out what's going on. I'm not going to, I'm not going to subscribe to a brand new major service that nobody approves of at work, but I am going to maybe get a new, completely separate journal or timekeeper that allows me to keep track of my time in a way that's outside of the work systems. What does the world end? Did you notice? Does the world end?
Yeah.
Is anybody mad at you? Anybody changing their relationship with you? I think that this implies you cannot think your way out of needing permission. You have to act your way out because losing permission was action-oriented. It was someone else acted on you to take your permission away and teach you that you weren't allowed to give yourself permission to do anything. So you have to let your brain collect evidence. You have to collect evidence in your skin that you can change without asking for permission in many, many ways. Don't
I love
break
that.
the law.
Right.
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 We should say, but take those small actions
Small
and see
actions.
what happens to your life. Okay.
Yeah. I love that.
What do you think?
I think it's great. And I think that it takes away some of the all or nothing that can happen so easily with ADHDers, that if I don't do this if I don't take a 30-minute walk, it didn't work. But if I can take a 5-minute walk, actually it can still work.
Right.
Right. So I think it's really changing our mindset of the tiny actions. It's that whole quote, and it was from Martin Luther King. It's one step takes you up to the staircase. One step at a time takes you up to the staircase. You don't just leap.
Right.
You take little steps. And I think that's great.
Yeah. So that's where we are.
I love it. Yay. And we're going to do a download for this,
Tell me about it. Do you know what it is yet?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. So this is in real time, folks.
It's a permission slip. We're going to call it the ADHD kind of permission slip. Yeah.
Yes, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, I don't know yet because I still have to think it through. But when I saw this outline and I saw what we were talking about, I thought this is going to be a great download for people to practice this idea. And it will have the prompts, name one permission you've been waiting for. Identify who you're waiting on. Pick a smaller version. We're going to have all of that stuff on there so that you can practice this. And
absolutely,
we'll have it ready for you to download soon when this is live.
Out. Check your show notes. It's there.
Yes.
It's on the website in the podcast page. You can find it right there. Just follow the links in your show notes and you'll get it. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you downloading and listening to the show. Thank you for your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel in our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.